Hello, everybody. It is I, Casey Francis O'Brien, and I'm here at the bus station, just waiting till 6 a.m. so that I can go on the bus 3 hours down to Montpelier, wait for 2.5 hours, then take another hour-long car ride back to the cabin. And then I will sleep. I've been awake, God, let's say 3 days. We're just going to take a little bit of a walk around. I'll always remember buying my ice cream and eating my ice cream. I'll remember coming to this gym. The first time I got here, when I would sneak in, which was impossible, so I'd have to beg and run to the door when they'd open it, hoping that no one would yell at me or call the police. And I'd go in and get a shower, to eventually basically begging the owner, Claire, to give me a discount, knowing I'd never pay it, so that I could shower a couple times and come in at night. And it was just the proud white people in their trucks were just too competitive. They were too in their own game. And I wasn't playing a game. I was a raccoon fighting to survive. And they thought everything was about social games and dominance hierarchies. So they would always be trying to test me and break me down. And they didn't know why they couldn't. I don't remember ever crying in this bathroom. I've definitely cried in Planet Fitness before, back in 2022. The first time, that was way back in the day. The first time I had a shower after like 5 or 6 months, when I finally snuck in the winter and felt that warm water. That was nice. Now, I don't give a fuck. I don't care if I go in there or not anymore. It was cool that I was always trying to get a Triton computer, and then I realized that the word Triton had been on this logistics container the whole time. It's like I go to these environments and the symbolism and the words around there don't mean anything, and I take it for granted, but I notice it, and then a year and a half goes by, and then where I'm at the next time I come through here, the things that I had already noticed are so important to my story. Like, here's a big thing that says K-line. That giant K with the red and the white there with the flag. You'll be able to see it. K-line there, and now Ethan Klein is in the war with iDubbbz. So there's another big Ethan out in the battlefield right now, and there's a big flag right here. It doesn't mean anything for years, and then now, the way the world is, I'm noticing that it was always there. I used to ride my bike down through here because I liked going up through that hillside. But every time I would ride my bike, because when I come down here, I feel that momentum, and then I would use that momentum to push into feeling powerful so I could keep going. And there would always be a guy that suddenly would walk out like a robot and would sit at that picnic bench over there. So when I got to the top of the hill, there was an energy vampire waiting. And I would have to start going and push past him. I like Morrisville because it's completely flat. So we have a big mountain over there and a big mountain range over there. And I would always get here in Virgo season when you're introspective and grounded. And then I would spend Scorpio season here, which would force me to go through the death, underground, and rebirth. And then when I would be reborn, I would set off from the flatland back into the mountains. So Morrisville's always been a transitional point after the journey to come back and look at where you went, where you could just walk around on a flat plane instead of having to go up and down through the ups and downs. You just go around. The first time I went to that price chopper, I was out of money and out of gas, and I would go in and ask, please, I know you're gonna throw the chicken out. Do you mind if I take it so I can eat it? And then when I have food stamps, I'll come back and I'll even buy it. I just am hungry now. And the first time he said, get the fuck out of here before I call the police. So I would steal whatever they were gonna throw out. To at the very end, people of color work there. And the guys that were mean to me would give me deals. They would, at first when I got here, they said they wouldn't take food stamps, to letting me pay for pizzas with food stamps, and they'd even cook it for me. This is the picnic bench. So I would ride up this hill, and then there would just be a guy that would wander out like a robot every day, every time. And I feel it. I feel we're all connected. The longer I stay here, I can feel all the tethers, which were orchestrating all of our movements. So I was never really making my decisions. And even if I was, the rest of the system we were connected to would marionette the people. But I figured I figured I'm a bee. I travel and I pollinate. I go from place to place. So I'm like, whatever I'm doing, I must be fighting to learn peace and abundance so that I could set an example. And I figured that every environment I stepped into would heal because of me. Like I would be changing the song that everyone was living inside. And that's later I found out how the Ren Water Day Master ties in with the 33 Life Path. Ren Water Day Masters are oceans. So everywhere I walk is like this. I didn't realize it was this giant overbearing current, like a flood. And that's why everybody gets upset, because I walk into spaces and the whole place floods. I thought that like I go places and all of these people are responding to me. They're attacking me, blah, blah, blah. What I didn't know was that I was flooding the whole environment, literally sweeping away. And when I would get mad, the fire from the Sagittarius would just burn away all the limiting beliefs, all the things that I had learned how to overcome. I would overcome everyone in my environment, and people weren't ready to feel that. People weren't ready to understand what was happening. But at the end of it, I was freeing everybody. They were afraid of the realization of their own potential, because I would just kick off all of their limiting beliefs, and all of a sudden everyone went whoosh and everything became more important. That's why the delusional people would start raging at me, and the anxious people would have panic attacks, and the angry people would go crazy, because I amplified everything. I brought it to a higher elevation. Now, what else can I find here? Bug right to left folk today. Timberland Pro, that's what I got on my feet. Pawn God Vans. I mean, I am about to work with a guy who owns a pawn shop to get money to save up for a van. The North Face, that's not really anything. Never stop exploring. Let's see. O'Brien, look. O'Brien. I'm not making this up. And it's green. You thought I was bullshitting? Gray aliens keeping someone in sleep paralysis? O'Brien, you thought this was a game? You fucking accuser of the brethren? Listen. I made a moth get excited. Oh shit. They just put in a core wellness studio. Core wellness? The pizza place that would not give me any opportunities, they wouldn't help me, downsized and was replaced with a fitness studio. I was mad and shit talking how fat people were. And now right next door, that could be a little bit of cherry picking. Over there is Can't Affords. Crafted with care. That's 33 cc. This is real estate. Let's see what the land is. How much? $219,000 for half of an acre. A third of an acre for $400,000. 5 acres for $825,000. All these people that are so mad about homeless people being here. But we're the only thing keeping the property values down. $1.1 acres in a trailer, so like a mobile home. $400,000. A plane? A plane for today? This was a very weird place. Because the girls really liked me, but the manager was this old guy, and he couldn't stand me coming in here, even if I was doing my laundry. So he would always come up to press me every time. It was like they got stuck on kill mode and they couldn't stop. So every time I'd go in there, he couldn't function at work. He couldn't do anything. He just went to kill mode and wouldn't leave me alone. There's a new nail and spa place here. I don't know how long this has been here. I think they added a thrift store too. There was a thrift store that was nice to me over there next to the Chinese place. One time I had all my stuff on my bag and I had taken it from way down when I was living by the river, and I was riding up with all of it through here. It was really heavy. Sometimes I would carry like 100 pounds on my back. I swear to God. No, that was back when I had books. I'd say it was like 60 pounds max with tents, shoes, tools. And I rode this way, and a fat dude in a truck with a neon shirt sped through here just so that he could cut me off halfway when I was riding through the parking lot, and he stopped right in the middle and stared at me like this. And he wouldn't let me go by him. So I thought that he was buying time for someone else to show up. This place, I wanted to work nights. This is the nicest person in Morrisville works here. It's an old woman that would always help me with free stuff when I needed it. And she would listen to me, and she understood, and she was able to speak without trying to attack your energy. She was compassionate, probably because she had suffered. Here's the new thrift store. Large furniture prices and mattresses 50% off. Let's turn that off before they bother me. This is huge. Tons of cool new stuff in there. This was not here before. $50% off dining room chairs. I don't need that. Yeah, I've been awake for almost 3 days. I didn't care about this place. It was always busy, but the air was stale. I figured there were so many old people that when I'd walk through here and I would feel their emotions so vividly, it felt like everything was dead and dry, boring, withered. My peanut farm withered. What else? I've never been in Minosh Corp. In the winter time. Oh yeah, we had the migrant worker protest. That's what really made people mad. Anytime there's any form of protest, there's a bunch of white people in trucks that show up just to rev their engines and splash water or throw beer cans at them. And I remember going up and it was a bunch of Mexicans. And there was a couple old white ladies that were like, I don't know what I'm doing here, but I'm happy. And the migrant workers wouldn't talk to us. They could speak English, but they wouldn't acknowledge us. They wouldn't care. They would literally ignore us, and they wouldn't give us any food. Like, they had tons of tacos, and I got them. I spent $60 on them. No, I spent 40 and she spent 20. So I gave them $60 worth of stuff because their whole thing is that we're underpaid and we don't have homes. So I gave them tons of stuff and they still didn't care. But it was cool that I rode in like a cowboy and I blocked all of they had like 7 security guards that were blocking them and staring them down, angry, stomping, treating it like it was a militia or a terrorist organization. And I distracted them so that I felt when I came in with the ocean and the Taurus rising, the stern, calm Casey that I learned from my father, how to not be affected. His Leo, bam. I felt I gave enough that my enhancement ability hyped everybody up. And at the very end, I rode through the middle and I went, yeah! And I felt that I excited all of their hearts all at once and everybody went, woo-ah! And then I rode off into the sunset. And then the next day they trespassed me from a bunch of different places and they took away my grill and they were just mean. Nobody liked that Casey did that. The Great Outdoors Resource. Now they have Core Wellness Studio. Right under higher elevation, they have Core. There's probably something I don't see that's there in that. I remember the first time I walked into town, or that I got here, I went to the community action program and I told them all my dreams and goals and showed them I'm a visionary and enlightened them and showed them my dreams. And they told me basically to fuck off. So I was like, oh, I guess I'll die. I guess more of my life will be wasted in pointless suffering. And then I went to Capstone and they would give me food and they were kind. At the very end at Capstone, they were disgusting. That's the whole thing with Casey, is that they get so bright and the power corrupts because they're not meant to house this energy. They feel it, and then I get to recognize why they don't deserve it. So when they get contorted and converted and probably farmed by the Matrix and they don't have the skills necessary to control it and they don't have the experience to fight it, the next time I come through, they're the worst, disgusting versions of themselves and they're angry at me. So I'm assuming that when I leave, there's some type of ritual that happens that they blame me for. So I started as like a homeless mouse person, a raccoon. And then I ended as an ancient king, a leader that's going on to his next adventure. and I put everybody through a bunch of different tests. That's what the tarot readers tell me, is that I'm the test. To have the most selfless and compassionate soul means that all I really do is in service of humanity. And I didn't know what that meant at the time, but now I know it meant that everything that I do is to impact the environment. And now at a greater level, I'm realizing that the story that I'm living inside is echoing through my roots across the world, probably. I don't know if I've made it across the world. I know Kai and Ray. Ray was in Taiwan. So Kai Cenat and Ray. Let me get the light for a second. So Jesse Wells just dropped a song about his friend John that died and how much he misses him. This year, John Michael died. And I've been thinking about how much I miss him. I was sitting around thinking about how all my friends are dead, and that was the point of my album. And Jesse Wells dropped All My Friends Are Dead. I ain't got none of my friends left. Then I was sitting and enjoying the morning, and I wanted a 12-string guitar. And then Jesse Wells bought a 12-string guitar and made a song about how much he loves the morning. I'm like a factory as well. So here's where I slept, right next to 3333 GG. I slept back in here. Let's go see my skunk friend. I'm just waiting to see if my regulars show up, but since I muted them, they don't really come back that I know of. What could they be busy doing? That pizza place called me a crackhead, and then I left a really bad review, and then every time I rode by, they would come outside and mean mug me. But they charged me $30 for a $5 pizza. This is where I would ride my bike back to where my tent was. Let's see if my skunka. I never know if the skunks survive. It's hard. Everywhere I'm going, I am helping people and like nurturing them like a garden. And then I eventually have to leave. And then usually they die. The skunks die in the winter. John Michael died. The kids in Burlington died. Or the ones that survived made it back to Brattleboro, but they've got face tattoos and heroin addiction now. But the time that I was with them, I helped them and I gave them an opportunity. It's hard for me to let them go. This is where the tent was. And because of me, they cut down the whole thing. They took wood clippers and they went into where my den was and they chopped the whole thing down. Look, the whole thing is gone. They cut it all down so nobody can go back. That's another part of Casey's journey, is that he's going around and doing things and experiencing things that won't be accessible or available in the new technological uprising. What the fuck are you? A spider folk today? So I would stay there and I would rest. I'd wake up in the morning and the Renwater Day Master 11, I had a big dome around the environment where everything was excited. So that it would stir the crows and make the crows mad. So I'd have to experience the crows trying to delete that and destroy it. And then the people would show up, the Matrix attacks, the people that would get puppeted, the NPCs would stir, and they would come at me, and I'd have to survive that. And then after, I'd have people like Ron Audette that would came up and stomped on my stuff while I was here, stomped on my papers, and then stood with his crotch in my face. Remember? And I was like, it's so weird that he put his dick so close to my head. Why did he get out of the car to do all that? Come to find out, his MO is that he goes up to homeless women and tries to get him to suck his dick. Also, come to find out, he needs glasses. He's fucking blind. So he probably saw my long hair, and he didn't realize until he got that close to me I wasn't a woman, because the hair was over my eyes. He just saw the long hair. That guy came out to try to molest me. That's what the video bully cop ? That was him trying to solicit a sexual bribe for a bogus charge through intimidation. Literally. When I first came here in 2024, I wound up here, and this is where I did most of the videos at TD. There was a woman who had spent some time in the retreat who was the supervisor of this bank, and she told me that she likes what I'm doing. She likes who I am. She likes the idea that if I'm here, nobody else is here, and that I can be here as long as I want, as long as I leave at 5. And then I moved my tent into here because a guy named John, when I first dropped in, I was behind Price Chopper, and a guy named John wandered out of the bush, and he brought me here, which is where the journey began. I say that people named John and Sean take people and lead them to somewhere else. And that's what he did. He brought me here, and then I spent maybe a month in the brush, or 2 weeks, because the Wi-Fi was here. So I would get the Wi-Fi so I could watch my YouTube, listen to my songs, which would help me continue to pump out content and everything. Hold on. You gotta make sure, you never know. What the hell is this? This looks like someone else has taken up the mantle and is now living in here. We got stuff with guns, hats with guns on it. These are all cans. Somebody's collecting cans to return for a lot of money. But this was my bathroom. I would shit in here. And then that's when I got my breakthrough moment. And then immediately during the breakthrough moment, the worst cop there, Marco, who's only a cop because his dad's the chief, he showed up and he couldn't handle my flawless energy. So he stood there shaking, trembling, angry, and he committed a felony. I had permission. He did whatever he could to supersede that permission to get me trespassed. Then they walked around and made a bunch of stuff up, so I would get in trouble. They played telephone. It's funny because later on I started doing the same thing, but I didn't lie. I just did whatever I was told to say. So I would walk around and I would feel this buzz, and it would say, "Tell him that Ron's a pedophile." I was like, "Why?" And they're like, "Just say it." You know, the voices in my head. But they're not in my head. They just tether into my consciousness from another realm. And they're probably just a greater version of myself. Come to find out, Ron's a pedophile. You know what I'm saying? The first time I ever came to Morrisville was in 2022 or early 2023 in the winter. I came here to get an O'Neill coat because McNeil's had just burned down, and I wanted the O'Neill coat because I figured if I had the brand on me, McNeil's had a great Irish pub, and the indigenous people from around the country came together to help and parade for McNeil. So I wanted this O'Neill coat, but back then in the water, the energy was influencing me so much that I was consumed. I would rage like my dad. I was an old bitter drunk. Their whole character and personality would affect me. So I did things like lash out like my dad does, because I hadn't learned boundaries yet. So she wouldn't sell me the coat because I was mad that she kept trying to bring it to her place. I was like, it would be simpler and it would be seemingly safer. Why don't you meet me here? And she was like, no, we're gonna go over here. And I just got to the point where she's like, I don't like the idea of selling this coat to you anymore. So I spent my money on McDonald's. And that's when Sergeant Audette walked up, ripped my car door open, accused me of being a drug dealer because I drove a nice car, slammed the door in my face, side mirror fell off, and then left. And I came in here and begged for sandwiches. And one time the manager here bought me one. And I felt really bad. But I knew they threw out so much. And then I would live stream here. I would come back and sit here at night and then go back to the park and ride to sleep. I'd get the Wi-Fi. If you can't tell, the cop is probably watching. He's just sitting over there looking at me. He's just sitting there. He drove around looking for me. Now he's just sitting there. It's so nice that I have my own money now. You know what I'm saying? I want a large Dr. Pepper. I'll get a large Coke. To give him one last opportunity to do the right thing. Or else, how would God judge them? This is the last time I saw him. When I got the scene of the two sex offenders in one photo. The whole point of it all is that they spent so much time and energy trying to run me out of town. The fact of the matter is they just delayed the process. The whole point was to leave. I didn't want to stay here. Who would want to be here? I just had a talk with a senator, and the senator's really unhappy about how racist this town is. He said that didn't he say, was it his sister? That his sister lives here and she's been here for her life and that she's never not had problems. But there's tons of them. Thank you. You too. What you gonna do? Did they decide to leave me alone tonight? Looks like they did. This guy's a piece of work. He charges a lot, and I heard he doesn't take care of his employees. Yo. Yo. Yo, question. Are you guys headed into town? You guys headed back towards Waterbury? He's watching his phone, watching YouTube. What's up? You gonna be mean? Question. Yo. Easier to wait to talk to you than to call you. Are you guys headed back towards Waterbury anytime soon? Sorry, I didn't hear you. No? All right. Have a good night. Fat piece of trash. You saw the dirty look for how long was that? Like 45 seconds? If I'm standing there, because I want to talk to you. That's a bad review right there. I could be the next Mickey Maze. Would have helped me out. I would have given you a grand tip. Now I'll never use their company again. And when their competition shows up, and I know their competition, we'll all collectively guide them towards the competition and take all their clients because they overcharge extremely with such piece of shit drivers. There's the real Morrisville content. It's not Morrisville content unless they're talking a lot of shit. Other than that, just dumpster diving. Oh yeah, the cops blocked me in that McDonald's. They brought 4 cops to block all exits. Then they sent a mental health worker in. And the only reason I got out is because I recorded him lying. So I made him believe that the whole conversation was recorded so that it would be very easy to pick apart how he was trying to escalate, being snippy, purposefully antagonizing, trying to put me in a situation where I may behave what they would consider disorderly so that they could arrest me by trying to instill fear. They blocked the whole McDonald's and closed business like I was a terrorist. Meanwhile, I'm just trying to make my music. That's how far they'd go to avoid a simple conversation. Just like that guy, fat, stuck in his own world like there, where it was the audacity of me to want to ask him a question when they're a cab company that are waiting for clients. If I was going to shoot him, I would have. Way before he had a chance to look at me. If that's what he was so concerned about. I don't know. It's just suburbia. I feel like that guy was a bit loserish. Okay, that Chinese food's not great. The one over there is really good. The one in Johnson is the best in the state right now for me, except for the one down in Brattleboro. What else? Remember when they followed me they followed me to the Price Chopper, and they waited outside the Price Chopper, and then they followed me all the way to the McDonald's, and then they blocked the McDonald's? Oh yeah, back when I was in the alleyway, the cops were testing out their ceramic brakes, which make this really loud, high-pitched squeak. So they would wait until right where they knew where I was, and they would screech the wheels really loud and then speed off. And then in 2023, I was up the road there at the food shelf. Back when I had service, I would go all the way up the road, go like 2 miles that way, and there was a trail entrance where I could just get service. And I parked there, and it said I was fine to park there. People park there all the time. But Baxter showed up and tried to get my ID and cause all these problems. And I held him off and said, I've not committed a crime. You have no reason to stop me. You have no reason to get me to roll my window down. I'm doing something legal. And then he was like, well, it says no parking. And I said, no, it says no parking on that side of the road. And then I literally pointed to a sign that said no parking this side of the road, on the other side of the road. And then Audette showed up, and he looked like he was high on something, barely able to walk, stumbling towards the car. And Baxter was like, let's just get out of here. And then when I moved here, because I wasn't getting as much DoorDash orders as I thought, so I had to stay down the road here. They would see me, they'd speed as fast as they could all the way up this road. They'd speed all the way around. They'd get like probably 60, 70 miles per hour, and they would just gun right for me and swerve at the very end, trying to scare me. And they would roll the window down and stare me down. And speed off. So, word around town is that, one, I walked around today and talked to 5 people. There's tons of new stories of the cops now going into the woods to hunt down and just beat homeless people. At this point, they're just going and jumping people in the woods. Ronald is molesting women, and they're all getting together, going out in the woods and beating people up who come here because they're looking for a forever home. They're trying to find peace and safety because every town has made it inhospitable. You saw today when I walked around Montpelier, and there were no benches, and there was nowhere for anyone to sit down. So all the homeless people were just on the sidewalk, and people were stepping over them. They thought if they made it unbearable to be homeless there, people wouldn't. But now they just have people sleeping on the road. But then they get on the bus and they come here. And this is so much nicer than Montpelier. So they finally think that they're free and they're able to start working on their own problems. And then all of a sudden, there's a literal rapist at the tent door doing whatever he can. What else? The food shelf is very nice. Meals on Wheels over here always gave me more food than they were supposed to. So that in Capstone, I always had a meal. I never went hungry here, which was really nice. Up the road is Lemoyne County Mental Health. Those were the people that came to my tent after the cops had done that to me and told me they don't like what I say about white people, and that if I didn't answer her questions, he was going to do what he did to me last time. And when I when I beat the boss and I had defeated them, she said, "Well, I'm going to come back in 3 hours and I'm going to find a way to haul you away for a long time." And Audette said he was going to charge me with a bunch of different crimes. And then he's fat, blind, stupid, and a pedophile. So he didn't see me. he tried to get mad and come back, and he just couldn't find me, which was really funny. But at the very end, when I had the fever and I was at Capstone for the last time, and I told you that people over time become grotesque, disgusting darkness monsters because they get corrupted by the power that they feel when I give them grace in my presence. So the only way for God to show me that this community wasn't worth shit was to put, when I needed food and they could be a savior and they could do their job like that, when it was simple just to feed what they believed me to be a starving animal, basically, like a stray dog. And it was doing something for them. They would give me meals. But when I showed up with 100-degree fever, no, 105, I think, at that point, because I hadn't gone inside yet, and I really needed help, they called the police to hurt me. And I had to de-escalate Capstone and de-escalate the cops, who were just mad that I was at the one place that I was told I would be safe, trying to heal. 11:55 for today. And then the next time I showed up there, they put food out. Instead of talking to me or hanging out with me or doing their job, they locked me out of the building and they left a tray of food outside, uncooked, like I was a dog, like a stray animal that they had to feed, like a cat. And they basically threw it on the ground. And the only thing I ever did was just wake up every day and try to change the problems and make their life better. But they were so caught up in something that I feel is worm tongue, the serpent, that every time I showed up, they were blinded. They couldn't see what was in front of them, and they were ready to attack me, and they would actively try to destroy me. And I didn't understand. But I did because I have pattern recognition. I know that's happened my whole life. But it just hurt. It doesn't hurt any less to build trust and then watch some culture or system weave its way back in and destroy the people that you tried to save. And knowing that it was usually just a lack of perseverance. So something contorted them and attacked them, and they did not take the time to hold on to what they knew was right. So they succumbed and became probably the thing they hate the most, which is my enemies. But the homeless people, like Hazel, coincidentally Hazel, who had she had just left homelessness 2 months prior to working at Capstone, and she was an Aquarius, so the rebellion is easy for her. She was fine, and now even though she's technically like the bottom position as like the secretary, and they're all workers, she's right at the front desk. She's the one that they talk to. She's leading the charge. If the name of the game and the battle is compassion and kindness and empathy, then she's the captain. And they're all a detriment to the community. They're also fat. Let's see if I smell the dookie. I recorded that video that I posted today a week ago, but I posted it on my other channel. Casey Francis O'Brien is not my only channel. It's just the one that I put my name on. I have a complete other channel you will never find. I have a couple. And I titled the videos differently to test engagement and reach, and to sort of disassociate from the character that I've developed in content creation. Leaving these programs, turning my phone off, deleting Facebook was the best power move I could have ever done. It really helped. There's beauty in escaping and being hidden, isolation. Um, I think that when you use your phone, you have an entirely separate persona that has developed over time in your phone. You've created something that's glued to your technology that is not you. And it's all subconscious automated systems. So the phone programs you to be taken over by those habits that have been programmed and influenced by technology. Your phone has programmed your insides. So when I'm engaging in all these apps and I'm doing content full time, like every day, multiple times a day, turning my phone on and complaining to a camera, it was creating something in me that's not human. All my mom has, like, it's, I don't know. I don't know. To save my family is to get them out and to get them back in the woods and to get them freedom so that they could spend their time working outside and actually being a part of the world. And that doesn't mean going out and making friends. That means actually going and doing something, like raking leaves in the forest, building an A-frame cabin, organizing your papers, cleaning and gutting the RV. Um, I don't. My dad didn't talk to me. I don't know what my dad's life was like. I don't know what he did. I don't know if 2 years of his life he spent homeless in the gutter somewhere. I don't know anything about him. He didn't tell me. I'm gonna tell kids. I'm gonna tell my kids are not gonna be able to escape my stories. My bedtime stories will be my life. I'm gonna tell them about the evil officers. I'm gonna tell them about when I had to fight dragons in my mind, and then when I would beat them, people in the real world would come hurt me, and I realized that the dragon was not just in my mind; it was somewhere that I didn't realize existed. It does feel like it's getting harder to escape the Matrix, but it also feels like the Matrix is gone. It's very weird. So I think that just means that I'm feeling that there's a greater potential to escape. And I haven't yet. And the way to get there is fasting, sunlight, probiotics, escaping into nature, turning off your technology. And then getting as much sunlight as possible, standing in directly in the sun so that the frequency of the sun's rays can decalcify your pineal gland. And then where I'm at is that's the most terrifying thing that can happen, because that's when your thoughts start to manifest so quickly. And if you don't have the boundaries to avoid the influence, then very quickly your insecurities and fears can manifest into horrific, horrible, tragic events. But I also feel like everything is written and it's all part of the stage, and that you are supposed to feel like you accidentally did that in order for you to realize what you can control and to value what you can control. But really, it was the same, it was fingers of the same hand orchestrating the whole thing. Let's see. I can remember how nice it felt in 2023 to eat a Big Mac and to sit there and watch Smosh in my car. And then I'd look up and the cops are like speeding at me, and I'm just enjoying my food. I look back I look back at my phone, and then I look up and they're doing it again. And I'm like, what do you think you're doing? What do you feel from me that was so intense you've had to like try to scare me into thinking you're gonna crash into me and stare me down? It was so pathetic. They were trying to like destroy my peace. And I didn't even realize how protected I was. I didn't know that that whole game existed back then. I would tune it out because I didn't want to be a part of the game. I wanted to create something different. I don't give a fuck about the game. I came to rip this bitch to shreds. Until you walk 10 steps in my Timbs, don't ever tell me I need meds. Until my dying breath, I'm going to give them all the best. I guarantee I'll lead you to a life with no stress. I can hardly hear him speaking through the sedatives. Everything I spit is elegant. No, everything I think is elegant. Even when they spit and fishy like pelicans, I throw it up, conquer it. Co-coach Casey, but I never took a lesson in tennis. I've been clearing up my friends list. Whiny bitches took the bridges that I tried to build and melt them, but my mama taught me he who smelt it dealt it. So now I'm chilling with my feet up on the delta. On a one-way trip to heaven, check my text, my brothers struggle in my settlements. So I fell back just to free all of my fellas screaming, stuck under the cellar. Fuck the lies that you've been telling. And the pills that you've been selling. You're not real. You ain't real. It's in your spelling. Your eyes tell me you're a hiding yellow belly and you're smelly. My whole flock is full of felons, and we're used to gutting pedos, so don't come inside my ghetto that I turned into a castle. I will kill you if I have to. I'm insane from years of battle. It turned me into an asshole. I was buried under trauma, then I crawled through all the callous, grabbed my hammer off the throne, tossed a chalice, ran and dove right off the balcony, and rode off on a dragon towards the ashes. My dad's blood is full of legends, and my mother's schizophrenic. Both are addicts. I was raised alone inside the madness. I will brand you just like cattle, burn and eat you like the Aztecs. Rip your heart out, wear it around my neck to keep at bay the sadness. Boy, I'm like thunder, wait for the roar. There's nowhere to hide. I'm the king in the north. My whole team is ready for war. We know that we're special and came back to settle the score. We drew up our fiery swords. We're coming to come gun down all of you dorks. You could never get my glory. I'm adored and a doormat. You're doormat and annoying. Get the fuck out my flat foyer. I just raw dogged my fifth bitch this morning. Like a Mormon, I got an assortment of shorties whose little brothers adore me. Go ask the Lord who you think's more important. Get the fuck out my flat foyer before I throw you over my shoulder and wait. Before I throw you over my shoulder and straight to the floor. And keep ripping and ripping and ripping and ripping up guts, blood, and gore. Torn vocal cords, can't cry no more, scream for the Lord. An unsatisfying end to your story. I will never be ignored. I will never be ignored. I will never be ignored. Casey. I hear